months now since video gaming's biggest expo has come and gone. The Electronic Entertainment Expo, or E3 for short, is usually the time when major game companies, developers, and studios come and show off their latest and greatest, and also give us, the gamers, a glimpse of what these companies have in store. This year's E3 was of particular interest, as Nintendo had previously announced that a successor to the Wii was in development. What about Sony's new handheld system? Does it set itself up to be in direct competition with the 3DS? What about Microsoft? What plans did they have since they weren't planning to release a new console? Listen in as we discuss the highlights and give you our thoughts on them, right here on the E3 episode of Downloadable Content. Welcome, one and all, to this E3 episode of Downloadable Content. I am Brian, and we are joined by our wonderful gamer panel, comprising of Nick.
Hello.
Ron.
Hello, everyone.
Joshy from the other side of the pond.
Hello.
And Chris from Geek Talk Radio Podcast. He'll get here in a little bit. So here we are. E3 has come and gone couple weeks, so we've had some time to digest the onslaught of gaming news, press conferences from the major companies telling us what they have in store. And this year, as I mentioned in the intro, we have, this one is, of particular interest. Anytime there's a year in which somebody announces a console, there is always a lot of interest, especially right up front, because we want to know what the thing is capable of. We had two such announcements. We had PlayStation announcing the PlayStation Vita, with being a successor to the PSP, and we have the Nintendo WiiU.
WiiU!
It does. It sounds like...
We and you, and you and we, no matter how they toss the dice,
we'll always be... Yeah, it's, things like that. Although Wii U sounds like the effect you make with a slide whistle. So, naming for these consoles suck, in my honest opinion. I would have liked it if they kept the code name Project Cafe, but...
It's Nintendo.
What if they ever kept the project name as the actual console name?
Why is it always the code names are better than the actual system name, like the Revolution?
Well, if you think about it, a lot of video game consoles have terrible names. I mean, the Xbox 360 isn't a good name. Dreamcast was not a good name. I mean, really, PlayStation is probably the only relevant name that actually describes what the fuck it is.
Well, you could, by that logic, you could also say GameCube, in which it was a gaming console.
Yeah, alright,
in the shape of a cube.
I'll give you GameCube and Game Boy.
Yeah,
those are probably alright.
Yeah, they should have called it the Nintendo D6, but anyway.
At the end of the day, the name doesn't matter.
At the end, yes, it's what it does. Although I just can't wait to start seeing game trailers when the Wii U is actually launched. I can't wait to see, rated M for mature, only on the Wii U, and and in a very serious baritone sort of voice.
Not to mention too the motion sickness as you're looking at the TV screen, then looking down at the controller, and looking at the TV screen, then looking down at the controller.
But we will get to Nintendo's Wii U and at a later date, later on in this podcast. So we're just going to start right in early on in E3. Microsoft was one of the biggest ones to go first. They did not have a console to announce, but there was a couple of big announcements that caught my attention. One being Halo 4.
which was an entirely CG trailer, like tacked on to the end of the conference. They basically could have not announced that.
Yeah, it really did felt like just a cop-out of, oh, look, we're going to show all these Kinect games for the family. Oh, wait, we still need to appeal to our hardcore audience. Bungie, you have Halo 4, right? Okay, here you go.
Except it's not being made by Bungie.
Yeah, it's not
No.
being made by Bungie anymore. It's from 343 Studios. Because Bungie jumped ship after number 3. Actually, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Is it 3 or is it Reach?
After Reach, they made 5 Halo games.
That's what I thought.
Regardless, yeah, Bungie said we want to do our own thing. We don't want to sleep with Microsoft anymore. And
Well, they got bought by Activision, didn't they? Or they made just a deal with Activision.
I think they just made a deal, but
Okay,
I think Activision is the publisher, but essentially Bungie's got so much money from Halo because they were actually smart with how they dealt with Microsoft that they're kind of their own studio doing whatever the hell they want.
Right.
the problem is because at the time Bungie was joined at the hip to Microsoft, Microsoft retained all of the IP rights to Halo.
Well, if you remember, the original Halo was originally a Mac game before Microsoft acquired them.
What was the game before Halo again? Hang on, I'm going to look that up.
Marathon.
Well, Stats
Marathon?
already goes to do his thing.
Yeah.
So,
But perhaps the worst part of the Halo 4 announcement was the bit where they said this is the beginning of a new trilogy. There's milking it, and then there's milking it.
I don't know. I personally, I've played the Halo games. Ironically enough, I played them more so for the single player because it's a good story. Other than the fact that you're essentially you got plot armor along with space armor keeping you alive. It's a pretty good story. But they kind of wrapped it all up in 3.
I don't deny that. I mean, they also called it Halo 4. I mean, Bungie did the right thing after Halo 3 of dropping the numbers. Now with a new trilogy, we're going to get Halo 4, 5, and 6. That is pretty crap.
Maybe they'll have surtitles to it.
yeah, they're going to pull a George Lucas, is what they're going to do.
Sigh.
I know. Well, thank God George Lucas isn't writing it, but be that as
we know.
Be that as it may, I mean, I don't own an Xbox. I've never owned an Xbox. I've had very little hands-on time with Halo. And while the Halo trilogy, the Halo series, has been a groundbreaking, very, very successful series, I kind of get the sense when I saw the announcement for Halo 4, I just kind of let out a collective sigh. Like, oh.
I think a lot of people did, even the hardcore populace.
I think
Really?
I think a lot of sentient, or by sentient I mean smart, hardcore populace kind of went like, really, Microsoft, you're that strapped for cash, and you're basically throwing all your eggs in one basket with the Kinect, that your only pitch to the hardcore audience is Halo.
Well, don't forget they didn't announce one Halo game; they announced 2 Halo games.
What was that? A rehash of the first one or something?
Yeah, it's Halo Anniversary. It's a remake of the original where you can switch between new graphics and the original.
Big fucking whoop!
I know.
It's currently Microsoft is doing what Square Enix is doing with the Final Fantasy series. It's giving everything a nice fresh paint over, and that's about it.
It's not just Square. There are other game developers that are jumping onto let's take old games and make them, let's upgrade their graphics for HD. Capcom's doing it with some of the Resident Evil games. Konami is doing that with a couple of the Metal Gear Solid games. So this isn't just Microsoft. This is, a trend,
If it's not rehashing, it's a full-on reboot. Tomb Raider!
That's going to be a different episode altogether.
Hey, the new Tomb Raider does look pretty good. Especially if you were to close your eyes in that press conference, it basically sounds like she's moaning.
What you do on your own time, Josh, is your own damn business. I do not want to hear it.
They must have easier laws on that stuff over in over the pond.
So if we know what Joshy's doing at 1 in the morning after Tomb Raider comes out in the UK, well, we'll know.
But joking aside, the new Tomb Raider does actually look very cool.
It does. Now, we touched on this just a few minutes ago. Looking at Microsoft's offerings, it looked like the bulk of their announcements did involve the Kinect. And I was actually glad to see that they were actually giving some time to the Kinect, because it seemed like after the initial launch of the Kinect, it just kind of dropped off the planet. Just kind of died.
And frankly, I would have been happy if that had happened.
Yeah, I mean, you see what Kinect has done, and people weren't really on board with this from the beginning. Sales were slow, games weren't that appealing. They tried to throw games like Fable out there, no one bought it.
Whoa. They sold 10 million Kinects. Kinect sold very well. There were just no games for it.
Yeah. I think it was the issue of, I think I mentioned this before, and I'm going to say it again, Microsoft kind of threw Kinect out there as like a Hail Mary, because I bet you they are still developing their next-gen console and trying to develop it so they can publish it cheaply. And they kind of threw that Kinect out there as like an appeasement, and all of a sudden it became this pretty wild success amongst the casual crowd. And they're like, oh shit, we actually have to make something now? Well, fuck.
Oh, dude, we have to do something now.
But, I mean, how many of those Kinects were bundled with 360s? I mean, think about that. Some people who are kind of on the fence about it, and then Kinect comes bundled for the same price, as some of the other 360 consoles, then yeah, of course, it's going to sell all right, but I guess it is about the quality, and you make a really good point there, but, that's all I'm trying to say is, compared to Move and the Wii, Kinect kind of fell flat.
Well, I mean, I'm taking a look at some of the details now of Microsoft's offerings. I mean, EA has announced that they're going to be, for the Kinect, Tiger Woods PGA Tour, Madden NFL, and FIFA Soccer will have Kinect support. And I kind of look at that and I go, okay, I could certainly understand that a couple of those games might appeal to the, getting fit crowd. If you're a fan of those types of games. But, I don't know, although Madden NFL is more, strategy, and I don't think you're going to want to actually mimic throwing a football in front of your Kinect. I could be wrong.
As long as you don't have a football in your hand, you're good.
Well, yes.
You have to have some sort of prop for the ball, for the camera to keep track of what it is.
Oh, yes.
Did anyone else think the Kinect Star Wars game looked awful?
Was that the rail? Was that basically the Jedi rails shooter?
Yeah, you can't control your character. All you can do is sort of push your arm vaguely forward.
It kind of reminds me of the old arcade Star Wars trilogy set. Does anyone remember that? You sat in the chair and you kind of moved the joystick around while you were on rails shooting. Anyone else remember this?
You're not the only one. I remember it vaguely, but it might be because I just went to a convention where they actually had one of those set up.
I am getting too old, I swear.
Oh, God.
They also they showed Kinect implementation in one of the Tom Clancy games.
Yes, they did.
And it looks like the worst controls in the world. The way the guy shoots his gun is basically to do jazz hands at the screen.
Suddenly it's Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, the musical. It's
Flash.
He'll save the universe. But,
frankly, it's the voice recognition that interests me the most. Some of the stuff they showed with Mass Effect 3, where you could command your characters, although this is still rather like SOCOM did on the PS2, or instead of, because it's so difficult, selecting the commands for your conversations, speaking them out loud. While I don't agree with how they've implemented it, it is cool that the technology works.
Well, yeah, I mean, it sounds like that, if the Kinect can pick up voice commands, then I guess that you don't need a headset. That's
No, that's very true.
That you don't need a headset, and so there's an extra, peripheral you don't need. Although I can only imagine the humor, if you're still living with your parents and you have Mass Effect 3, your parents hear you screaming at your Kinect.
Yeah, all
Garrus,
this is very
Garrus, get behind that
embarrassing
fucking
if
pillar.
anyone else is in the house.
And I wonder how good that voice recognition really is, because if it's anything like the DS, God help us all.
Somehow, I think it's probably a bit better than that.
Well, you say that, but I tried to get a Kinect to go to the dashboard, and I had to shout at it multiple times.
No, does it understand British?
Apparently not.
Because that's another thing. Does the Kinect understand dialects? Different
Or other languages.
Other languages.
I think that I saw an announcement that they're adding language support.
Yeah, I mean,
probably only going to be for the primary market, so it probably would support French and German and Spanish, but I can't imagine it supporting, well, maybe Japanese, but I can't imagine it supporting Mandarin Chinese or Korean or Taiwanese or something like that.
The Xbox isn't successful in Japan anyway, so they won't bother. But let's be honest, everyone, we're all really looking forward to Sesame Street Once Upon a Monster.
Oh yes, contrary to popular opinion, Microsoft, there are other languages besides English there. Microsoft,
it's this thing called the world. You might want to look it up in the globe.
Yeah, just a small thing there. Yeah. Hey, all right. Yes, Sesame Street.
Come on, Tim
moving on.
Sesame
Moving
Street.
on.
You don't want to discuss this?
I don't. I saw the dancing. I'm like, that's great. It's DDR for kids. Moving on.
Yes.
I'll go record my own Sesame Street podcast.
Yes, you will. You can put it on your own website, Klytus.com. So. Put it on your own website. We're going to move to the next major offering. We're going to move to Sony. Sony.
It was a great grand start to that conference, huh? One big blanket apology.
Oops, sorry.
You didn't have the internet for a month. Sorry.
Yeah. Oops.
Go ahead.
I thought though, to give them credit, that I mean they had to address the elephant in the room, and I felt they went about it pretty well. The only thing that really bugged me is they listed all these people they were thankful to. They went through the retailers and the developers, and the last people they mentioned were their customers. That should have been the first thing you mentioned.
We don't matter.
Apparently not.
Yeah, we're not going to thank the people that actually buy our product. No, we're not going to thank them for bitching and moaning at us for 6 weeks straight, while we basically twirled our thumbs with them up our butts.
But to be fair, they did really want to address us last, as kind of saying, we understand the frustration behind what you guys were going through. For that, we are truly sorry and thankful that you guys still stuck with us. And, despite however shallow people may perceive it to be, Sony did address it. They did sincerely apologize. And for what it's worth, they threw in some additional bonus stuff for everyone, free games and such. So,
most of us already have, but anyway.
And most of the Sony populace, Brian, I'm sure you're one of them, who's already forgiven Sony for what they've done, so...
Yeah, I think they handled it pretty well.
Well, I mean, for me, it was just a minor inconvenience. I mean, I didn't, I wasn't personally damaged or affected. It just meant I couldn't be online for a month.
Yeah. For how bad Sony messed up this PR debacle, I mean, this is about as bad as one could get. They handled it about as best as they could. I will give them credit for that.
So after their their public self-flagellation, they had, they definitely had some offerings. I mean, obviously we'll get to some of the offerings, but I think the biggest one was the Vita, the next PlayStation handheld, the next Sony handheld.
I so don't care about this at all.
You know, for what it's worth, you know, after seeing the Vita, we kind of knew already what it was capable of doing. There were so many leaks and reports. It was Sony's worst kept secret. But at the end of the day, when I saw everything that it can do, I walked away from that conference impressed.
Yeah, the thing is, like, we knew everything about the system before E3 happened.
They had already announced it completely.
Yeah, I mean, just short of announcing it by themselves, like, the only thing we didn't know about the thing was the price, and that's where I think the big shock is right now.
That is, I will go with that. I'm just, it shouldn't surprise me, but it does. Pardon. The fact that it's going to come in 2 flavors. It's going to have 2 versions. One of them is just with Wi-Fi capability.
The $250 price is the perfect price. It's not like the PSP Go debacle from a few years ago.
That's gonna put it in direct competition with the 3DS.
The 3DS now needs a price cut. It looks ridiculous next to it.
Now it's gonna put it in direct competition with the 3DS. And then, of course, the second flavor, in which you will have cell phone capability, and that pushes the price up to $300. I'm a little wary of any console handheld release Sony makes because, you know, if we've learned anything from the PS3 launch, is that Sony will promise you the moon, but they'll fail to deliver on a few key points. Backwards compatibility being one of them.
Yeah. See, I think.
And $600 for the privilege. Anyway,
yeah. My question is going to be if for the phone version is going to be the option of you can put your own carrier on it, or are you going to be buying?
No.
Is it Verizon? I think
AT&T.
Oh, it's AT&T.
Yep.
Because they have their other.
Although it'll be
Sony
jailbroken.
phone.
It'll be jailbroken.
You guys have to go out and watch the video of that bit of the announcement. Because literally, he's like building up to it, and we're going to partner with the fastest, the greatest carrier in the United States, and you can just hear the tension in the room. And then he goes, AT&T, and the reaction from the crowd is first booing, then laughter to the booing, and then more booing, and then more laughter as it sort of waves through the crowd. It is the best reaction in the world.
Because that was the penultimate Sony shooting itself in the foot. No one likes exclusivity on anything unless it is made by the people. You know, it's made by Sony.
Yeah,
and no one likes AT&T.
Well, most people don't like AT&T. I'm like one of the few who don't have a problem with them, but. Regardless,
the issue they have with AT&T is the price mostly. I have AT&T. The service is okay for the most part, but the price is really not worth what you're getting.
And the only reason why I'm sticking around with them is that my plan is severely cut thanks to work. That's the only reason why I'm sticking with them.
Yeah.
Incidentally, do you guys realize that there's basically, especially if you have a smartphone, there's no reason to get the 3G version of a Vita, because the only thing you can do with the 3G connection is like the social bullshit. You can't actually download anything over 10 megabytes, and you can't play games online with it.
I didn't know that.
It's completely pointless.
Well, it's just continuing the Sony trend of let's cram in as much as we can in our hardware, have half of it break, and
have half of it that we'll remove later to make it cheaper.
And they already have a phone version. They already have a Sony phone. I think it's the Sony
Xperia Play.
Xperia Play, thank you. And that's on Verizon network right now in the U.S. And that's mostly phone, but it does have the processing capability to play some games.
I was just, when I saw the price point of just the regular Vita, which I'm told that it will still be I don't know if it will be backwards compatible with the PSP, to be perfectly honest.
But only downloadable versions. If you bought UMDs, you're stuffed.
So there's no reason for me to get rid of my PSP anytime soon.
Nope.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Yes.
You can also, from what I heard, you can take
Hey,
your
Chris is here.
Yeah, what's up, guys? You can take your PS3 DLC, like stuff that you can download off the PlayStation Store from the PS3. You can actually transfer that over to the Vita.
Don't you mean
Yes.
transfer?
No, it's
Transfar is only for Konami.
Of course.
it's called cloud gaming, and it seems to be the future of gaming now. But
Don't we already
that
have a
is
cloud in gaming?
God,
Bad pun, I know.
Yeah.
God damn it,
wah,
Brian.
Keep going, Nick.
But I do like the interconnectivity with it, but honestly, if I had the option between playing on the Vita or playing it, on the PS3, I honestly don't take my handhelds on the go. And for those that do, bravo. But if I have the capability of keeping it on my PS3, I'm gonna do so. I'm not gonna do all this transfer crap. And I think that's the one thing that that the 3DS is still going to have over the Vita, is that the Vita is going to have a lot of this. Well, it's available for the Vita, and it's available for the PS3. Whereas Nintendo says is 3DS and is 3DS only. And that kind of quality, that kind of exclusivity is really what's going to make a difference. And it's why I don't think the Vita is going to really get into the 3DS sales much. Basically because of that, because the Uncharted 3 looks great on the Vita. I'll be the first one to admit it. It looks great, and it looks like it'll play great. But there's unique stuff on the 3DS that you can't even play on the Wii.
See, this is why I don't give a shit about the Vita at all. Because they tricked me once, I will not be tricked again. The PSP had the exact same issue. They are releasing big, epic games on this tiny handheld, and it's exactly the same problem you just said. You don't take that handheld on the go. You can't play this Uncharted PSP game on the bus. It's not a portable experience. So what am I going to do? I'm going to play it in the same chair I would play my PS3, in front of my TV that's turned off. Why the hell would I do that?
If they're smart, and this is far and away now what's going to happen, but if they're smart, what they should do is, say for example, on the PS3, you go onto the PlayStation Store and you download, I don't know, Shadow Complex or Outland or Child of Eden or something like that. And say for example, you download it, but you can transfer it onto your Vita, and then you can keep your gamer score updated that way, or your trophy score updated that way, and you can. It's seamless transfer between the Vita and the PS3. I don't think that's going to happen, but that's what they should do if they want to try and.
Well, that's the whole point that's the whole point of the cloud gaming, is to keep that interconnectivity between your PS3 and the Vita. That's exactly that. You just described it in a nutshell. But the thing is that if I have the option of playing it on a little tiny handheld screen, or on my big 42-inch TV, what do you think I'm going to play it on?
Am I the only one that's excited for the Vita?
All right,
Apparently,
go on, Chris. The floor is yours.
Come on,
Okay.
sell it to me.
All right, so I have a 3DS.
Yeah.
There's nothing to play on it except Zelda. Honestly, that is the only game right now to play on it. When I saw the Vita and I saw the Sony press conference, I was like, okay, so we're getting Uncharted, which looks really good. We're getting Little Big Planet, which is one of my favorite games, and with the touchscreen on the back and the touchscreen on the front, it looks like it's going to be really good. It looks like the Vita is the system that Little Big Planet was meant to be played on. Then we have short games like Stardust HD that's coming to it. And then they had Ken Levine come out and announce that there was going to be a BioShock on it. Not only that, but over the 3DS, the Vita's got 2 thumbsticks, which is going to make traditional gaming so much easier. And they're selling it at the same price as the 3DS. I honestly think that if the 3DS does not get a price drop before the Vita comes out, the 3DS will be dead in the water.
I have to agree with you, Chris, on that point. The fact that they are releasing the Vita at I'm talking about the base Vita, not the cell phone one. The fact that they're going
The only one that's used to get it.
Yeah. The fact that they're releasing it at a $250 price, I think, is an excellent marketing move on Sony. Because you're right. If the 3DS, I will expand on your point. If the 3DS doesn't either come out with some good games or take a price cut, I think the 3DS is in trouble.
See,
It's in trouble now.
Yeah, but we'll get to Nintendo's conference in a little bit. You'll see that Nintendo addressed that game's issue. And it's not that I'm not sold on the PlayStation Vita. As from what I saw of it, I'm impressed. And if I had a PS3, I would go and get a Vita because of that interconnectivity. I think that is really nice. I just really wish that, you know, there has to be some really exclusive Vita-only stuff that you can't even get on the PS3, and hit me with that. You know, show interesting game ideas that I want to get into, and that's Sony's biggest problem right now, is that they're showing all these games, and a lot of people are like, A, we have that on the PS3. B, does anyone care? I mean, outside of like Little Big Planet and Uncharted, everyone's just kind of like, you know, there was just a big overall meh.
Soundshapes looks awesome. I don't know if anybody saw that. Like, if you guys saw any of the coverage on Soundshapes for the Vita, I think that's going to be the best Vita game when it comes out.
It does certainly look interesting. I mean, and you know, I'm hoping that there's a better launch. You know, because when the 3DS launched, it was ports. I can't recall off the top of my head a single original game that was for the 3DS at launch.
Steel Diver.
Pilot Wings, maybe.
But I'm hoping it sounds like Sony is trying to actually put together a slew of original games for the Vita when it launches.
Hang on a minute. Wait. So all the criticism at the moment for the 3DS, and I'm not really defending it because I don't have one, and you are definitely right, it's overpriced compared to the Vita. But the problem with the 3DS at the moment is it had a poor launch, and we'll get to Nintendo in a minute, but it looks like they are going to pull it back by the end of the year with the game front. All these Vita games they showed off are all very nice, but none of them have been. There isn't a confirmed lineup for what that release window is going to have game-wise.
Okay.
I can guarantee consoles always have crap launch titles. Half of these games will not be available at launch.
And we'll get one, maybe two, good games at launch. Anything with a if they really deliver through at launch with the Vita, and all these titles that they're claiming will release as planned, one, I'll be very impressed, and two, they will get the holiday buyers. But again, what's the most of the handheld market? What we mostly see of is unfortunately marketed to kids, which is not right, but that's the sad truth of it. And what are little kids going to want? Are they going to want all these fancy graphics and Uncharted, or are they going to want Mario, Metroid, Zelda?
Well, it's not even that. The thing that people are forgetting is the Vita isn't really competing with the DS anymore. The Vita is competing with the iPod Touch, and the Android and Apple devices and all these cheap games for $1 is what kids are playing.
All right, decent point.
Exactly. Angry Birds is going to have sold more than any of the games they've shown.
So, I just want to spend the last couple of minutes before we end the first half on some of the other points that Sony presented. For example, they're adding more games with PlayStation Move support.
What was that one game with the dungeon that could freeform between sword, bow and arrow, shuriken? Anyone remember the title of that? They showed it in the conference. It looked kind of fun.
Was that Medieval Moves?
I think that's it.
I see that they're going to try to expand on the move function. That was another thing that dropped off the face of the earth after it was released.
The move was very short-sighted. They needed to copy the motion control. I think it's dead in the water.
And the last thing I want to bring up, I caught this from the press conference. PlayStation branded 3D TVs.
It's magic.
That technology is cool. If anyone listening didn't see it, it's instead of using split screen, you can use the technology in 3D to have both players see a different picture. The problem is it needs to be supported by the game, and no one's going to support it.
Yeah, I mean, they're 24-inch monitors. It's going to come with Resistance 3, one pair of 3D glasses, and
That's funny.
and a 6-foot HDMI cable, and this whole package can be yours if the price is right for $500. So
It's a nice little concept. If you don't already own an HD TV, that's probably the way to go for you. But you know,
you
by
still
this
need to buy
point,
another set of 3D glasses.
Which
for $100.
They dropped them down to 60.
Oh, 60.
To be honest, I think the 3D discussion is probably a whole nother podcast.
More than likely.
Yeah.
More than likely.
Alrighty, so we've wrapped up Microsoft and Sony. On our second half, we go to probably what was the biggest announcement of the entire expo. Nintendo's successor to the Wii, Wii University. No,
Might as well be. It's going to one.
the Wii U.
It graduated.
Yeah, all the pomp and circumstance of the Wii U will be on the second half of the E3 episode of Downloadable Content. We'll be back. Welcome back to this second half of our E3 episode of Downloadable Content. We are all still here. We have acquired a Chris, so we are +1 now in the panel department. We have gotten through our Microsoft and our Sony discussion. Now we head over to the Big N. They had announced in April that, hey, we're working on the successor, but we don't want to tell you about it. We're going to keep it hush-hush.
We have an announcement. Our announcement is that we're going to have an announcement at E3.
Essentially, that's like, we have an announcement. And we're working on something, and no further questions. However, unlike Sony, whose details of the Vita were leaked all over the place. Nintendo actually managed to keep this pretty decently under wraps until we finally got unveiled in all of its shiny glory. We got the Wii U.
Wii U!
Again, that whole slide whistle thing. It's
Wii U wacka, Wii U wacka, Wii U wacka. Okay, I'll stop.
What is it about the Wii U that makes you break out into song?
Hey, these thoughts pop in my head. They gotta go somewhere.
Random thought. You paid for it. But, so here we are, the Wii U, in which they unveiled a system that now includes... Well, first of all, the first thing I noticed was that Nintendo finally dragged itself into the 21st century with now a console that is capable of HD quality graphics.
Oh my god.
Welcome to 2007.
Yeah, welcome. Welcome, Nintendo, finally. I mean,
They finally saw that everyone owns HD TVs and said, we're waiting!
Yeah, well, I mean, Nintendo has always been, sort of that type of company where they say, we don't give a shit about graphics, it's gameplay that's our main focus, and I agree with that. I think that you should not put all your focus on shiny. I'm looking right at you, Square Enix. You should not...
How is
13,
Final
what?
Fantasy 13 going?
I'll get to that later.
I know, great game.
I agree that
Lies.
gameplay should be the main concern. So I was kind of proud for Nintendo to sticking to their guns, but then they saw the sales figures and went, "Oh, you stupid Americans. You like your shiny, don't you?" Oh, all right. We'll make a console that is HD. Are you happy now?
No.
1080p.
No. Are you happy now?
About time.
So, the first thing I and probably everyone else noticed about it was the tablet controller.
What, the iPad controller?
I saw the conference and I saw the videos posted on the Nintendo website about the functionality of this tablet controller. And, very glad to hear that it will be fully backwards compatible with the Wii. That's something,
GameCube.
that's something I can be very sure about when talking about Nintendo. When Nintendo says we're going to deliver backwards compatibility, they deliver backwards compatibility. It's not like Sony that says, yeah, we're going to make a PS3 and you can play any PS2 and PS1 game on it. Oh, wait, it broke. It broke. That's what happened. No.
Incidentally, they removed GameCube compatibility, so I guarantee the new Virtual Console will sell GameCube games.
Either that, or they're going to give us a reason to hang on to our Wiis.
There we go.
So let's get to what this controller does.
Yes, let's. Before
So-
we go too far into the gutter, go on, Joshy.
It's got all the traditional controls. It's got a D-pad. It's got the face buttons. It's got 2 sticks on it for once, but they're slide pads, so they're basically the ones the 3DS has. It's got 2 triggers and 2 top buttons, a camera, a gyroscope, accelerometer, a mic. It's even got a sensor bar so that a Wiimote can detect where the controller is.
Accelerometer as well.
That is very interesting. One of the things, speaking of the tablet, one of the things that impressed me the most was that you do not need a TV for this console. You can play a game on this tablet controller without needing the TV.
What was
Presumably-
the screen? It was like 6.5 inches, I think.
6.5
It's
inches.
a big screen.
Yeah, so it's just enough screen for you to be able to play and not really have that much, constraint.
Yeah, and who cares if it's not HD graphics on it? People were griping about it. I said big deal. The fact that you could, someone wants to change the channel to the Red Sox game, you could still look down and see, oh, I can still play.
Red Sox is a baseball team, Joshy.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm speaking American. Sorry for the international.
That's all right. But the big disappointment in my mind is it's not a Wii pad as we're describing it. To compare it to an iPad, you need a multi-touch screen. This is a capacitive, which means it needs a stylus or you to press really hard, and it can only detect one finger. Why they couldn't invest in giving a touchscreen technology from this decade, I don't know.
I think it's because
Hold on, Nick. Let Chris go.
Yeah, no. As soon as I heard the second voice.
I think it's because that the controller already is going to cost a butt ton of money. That the idea of putting even more technology into the actual controller would increase the price of the controller even that much greater. And Nintendo is known for using a little bit older technology in a lot of their hardware. So to me, it's what Nintendo does.
Right. I can understand that's why they went with the crappy screen. However, there isn't much else the controller's doing. There's no processing on the controller. It's all being streamed from the box. The box really should be the expensive part, which means you feel they could have upgraded the screen.
I think they just wanted to emulate the style of the DS control of a DS. I think that's why they went for more of a stylus control. Maybe to offer some DS compatibility or 3DS compatibility to the Wii U. Some sort of cloud gaming? Who knows? We don't know all the details yet.
And also keep in mind that this system is still currently in development. Things may change.
Right, we haven't even gotten the full actual console reveal yet.
So, I mean, it's still in development. I doubt that the thing we saw at E3 is the final product.
Right, it doesn't come out till next year. There's no way they've fully decided what it's going to be.
I would have to say that they have another E3 under their belt at least.
Yeah, that's going to take some time. It's
just like the Wii.
Yeah, I mean, and I was just very glad to see
Needs
that
time to mature and ferment.
Like a good wine or cheese. But I mean, I was just glad to see that, I don't know if any of you have gone onto the Nintendo website and actually saw the system in action, playing with this Wii U controller along with 4 other Wiimote controllers. It was it was pretty interesting to see.
Can you describe kind of how that all interacted? Because I have not seen it.
Okay, so with Find Me, basically, if you've ever played like the Pac-Man game, where you have 4 players playing as the ghost and 1 player playing as Pac-Man, and Pac-Man's got to find the ghosts. Anybody ever play it?
Okay. I've seen it. Never
I
played
hope
it.
we've all played Pac-Man.
Well, there's a Pac-Man where you actually have player-controlled ghosts, and Pac-Man's trying to find the ghost. So they're the ghost trying to find Pac-Man, and he's hiding in the maze.
Yeah. Anyway,
it's like that. So you have 4 players that are playing as like Mii characters with the Wii remotes, and they're running around this maze, which is multi-tiered and multicolored. And you got the one person with the new Wii U remote who can look at the screen and see like what's going on the screen, but he can also look down at the screen on the Wii U remote, and he gets to see a top-down view of where everybody is on the map. So, and he's trying to hide from the other 4 players that are trying to find him.
Meanwhile, the people with the 4 Wiimotes looking at the screen do not know where the one holding the Wii U remote is.
Mm-hmm. They also had another demo where there's 2 people playing with Wiimotes on the big TV split screen, running around while the person with the Wii pad is basically like controlling a ship above, trying to shoot at them with a top-down view.
That thing looks awesome.
And if I remember correctly, with that particular game, the Wii U remote, when you moved it off screen, you could basically see like an extension of the TV screen on either side of the television.
Right, so another thing it can do is using the sensor bar is basically sort of do an augmented reality where you can look through the Wii U screen holding it up in front of the TV and like get a shot through to the TV. And when you move it away, like above or to the side of the TV, you can see more of the play area that's surrounding you.
Do we know if that's using the sensor bar or if that's using the cameras that are in the controller?
The camera is only facing you. There isn't one facing out. So to know where the TV is, it must be using the sensor bar.
Okay, so there is only a front-facing camera. There is no rear-facing camera.
Correct.
Okay, because I'd heard reports from some website that there was going to be a rear-facing camera as well.
There might be by the time they finish this, but not at the moment.
Okay.
And I just thought it was overall just an interesting concept. I mean, some people thought Nintendo might be getting too cute. I was one of them initially, just looking at this, going, "Wait a minute, I think you're getting a little too fancy there." It's because a lot of us gamers are still entrenched in the traditional sort of gameplay. You have a controller. And you sit down in front of your TV, you play a game.
And the thing is, all those type of games can work with this as well. Part of the pitch of the Wii U is that it works for the casual people who like the Wii and the hardcore who like the GameCube. The idea that they'll be able to port Xbox and PS3 games to the Wii U as well.
Yes, they will, because I saw some of the software lineup. I was just shocked at how much third-party support there is initially.
There's a huge but in all this, though, and that's next year likely, or the year after. They're going to announce the PS4 and the next Xbox, and suddenly those ports are going to stop. Nintendo has got a year or two of this universal porting of third-party games before that all goes away.
And the big problem with what they announced for the third-party games, the Wii U's not coming out until next year. A lot of those games are coming out later this year.
Yeah, I think that was I would guarantee that, for example, Batman Arkham City doesn't actually come out for the Wii. I think the point of those trailers was to say this level of games will come out for the platform, because we can't show you what's coming out a year away.
Well, with Batman, the developer that's doing Batman said we're planning on releasing Batman Arkham Asylum as a release title for the system.
Right.
At the press conference, which means okay, so a year-old game's coming out on the Wii U.
Yeah, but I think that they may release the year-old games, but the point was to say the stuff coming out next Christmas for the Xbox will also be on Wii U.
Hopefully.
Which would still be nice. I mean, Nintendo doesn't usually get M-rated games or,
well, yeah,
things of that.
Even teen rated is a bit of a stretch.
Can we talk about the issue with only having one controller, though?
Go ahead.
Because what we've talked about many of the sort of different gaming concepts you can have with it, with holding it up against the TV or having lots of people with Wiimotes. But part of the appeal that I was looking forward to is the experience that they sold with connectivity on the GameCube with Zelda, Four Swords and Crystal Chronicles, where each player can have their own separate screen as well as the big screen. As far as we know at the moment, and this may not be what actually happens because it's not all confirmed hardware, at the moment it sounds like because it's streaming to the device, it can only support one controller, and that sucks.
It does.
Iwata came out and said that it wasn't a streaming issue for multiple controllers, that it was actually, they want to make sure that there's a market for more controllers before they release it, because they don't want to have gamers paying money for something that they're not going to use.
That's true, but I don't know about you, but when I've had friends round to play the Wii, the way we get 4 Wiimotes is for everyone to bring their Wiimote. If we all had Wii U's, you just bring your controller.
Right, exactly. And that's what I'm hoping that they'll do, especially since at E3, Reggie said yes, that the Wii U will support multiple Wii U remotes, whereas Miyamoto said that no, it's only going to support one. And Iwata said at the not at the press conference, at an interview afterwards, that they weren't really sure concrete on what they're going to do yet. It all depends on what the market does.
It sounds like they just haven't really confirmed how well it would work.
And it really it makes you think about what they'll do, what Nintendo's going to do if hardware capacity only permits one Wii pad or something something else only says, well, we can only use one Wii pad. It really shows one of two things. That one, that they still really want to use the Wii remotes as their primary controller use, in which, if that's the case, why bother with Wii U? But second, what I think is probably more likely is that Nintendo might be emphasizing more in the online community, and they really haven't gotten around to that yet. Again, we really don't know. It's still a ways out, but it really makes you think maybe Nintendo wants to push more online stuff.
Segueing into online stuff, one of the biggest concerns I had with it, I mean, yes, it's fully backwards compatible with the Wii and all that, but what about all the stuff you downloaded on Virtual Console? It's
The 3DS really gives me confidence that will port over, because the 3DS allows you to port over all your DSiWare.
Okay, and I'm hoping for something like that because, at the moment, if you download all this stuff on Virtual Console, you lose your Wii, that's it.
Yeah, it's locked to your system unless you plead to Nintendo customer service and they give you 1 billion Wii points. In my case, my Wii is connected to my Club Nintendo account, so they have a record of every single game I downloaded off the Virtual Console. And
I'm just going to touch on what you said there, but as far as all your Virtual Console on your Wii U, I think there's no way around it. They're going to have to somehow allow some sort of transfer from a Wii to a Wii U seamlessly, unlike what you do now. I think the SD card's gonna have to be able to do that free transfer. Well, I think they're out of options.
I think they have to figure out some way to transfer. I've spent a lot of money on the Virtual Console.
You and me both.
And, I do not want to buy those games again. If that's the case, I have every reason to keep my Wii. It's, I'm not going to download all of those games again. I'm not going to.
And there's actually a reason to want to transfer them, because you'll finally have those NES games connected via a HDMI cable to a HD TV.
Oh yes, because there's nothing better than seeing 8-bit graphics on it.
Oh come on! Where's your sense of adventure?
Oh yes, to see squares and pixels in even shinier squares, in even shinier capability.
I can count the pixels now.
Oh my god, every individual one. But yes, I'm hoping for some method of transfer. The Wii U itself already comes with 4 USB slots, and from initial reports, I'm told you can even hook up an external hard drive to it as additional memory.
That's actually pretty cool, considering Xbox is selling you £100 20 gig hard drives.
Yeah, so that'd be like, hey, spend $50, get a 500 gigabyte. And I'll just go. I'll just buy the entire Virtual Console. All right, it's a.
Am I the only one that's bugged by the fact that they don't have an internal hard drive in the Wii U? That it's only flash memory?
Elaborate.
Go ahead.
They're doing flash memory, SD cardy for a save for
do we know how big it is?
No,
we don't know yet. Okay. But at the same.
I bet it will be 8 gigs.
Exactly. But at the same time, if they're trying to go for that hardcore market, just think of how much money add-on content is making for the games that we're playing on Xbox and PS3. If it only has 8 gigs of storage, are you really going to be able to get all the content that's available?
Yeah.
I'm kind of leery about it.
But Nintendo, I just don't really see Nintendo as one to do a whole lot of DLC. It just seems to me like if they really wanted to give additional content, they would just keep it on the disc and just have it upon release. That's my opinion.
I'm not talking about Nintendo games. I'm talking about third-party games.
Yeah, that's where I thought he was going, was third-party games.
They
Okay.
They showed Battlefield in the Wii U trailer, in the Wii U, like, oh, these games might be coming to the Wii U. They showed Battlefield. So that means that Call of Duty might want to get on that system at some times. Both of those games have 4 to 5 map packs per game. So, and that's, honestly, that's actually a lot of space. And that's not including, like, Darksiders DLC, or anything for the new Ghost Recon Online DLC, or anything that you're going to be buying off a virtual console.
To be honest, I'm not expecting anything out of Nintendo online-wise. I really do not expect them to come up with a competent online system.
Well, they got rid of friend codes.
That's true.
They still have a long way to go to match Xbox Live.
Yes,
Yes,
they do.
Or even PSN.
Admittedly, though, I mean, with the extra USB slots and the ability to hook up, a flash drive or an external hard drive to the Wii U, I mean, I really don't see that as a huge detriment.
But that's only something people like us are going to do. The problem is that when you buy an Xbox, Joe Smo, who doesn't know anything, can download those map packs. If you have to go out and buy an external hard drive and work out how to plug it in, a lot of people aren't going to do that.
And you may even have to format that external on your computer before it'll even be compatible with the Wii U, which you have to do with stuff like when you hook an external up to your PS3.
Woohoo! 3DS?
We will definitely... we were just about to segue into the 3DS, actually.
Can I say one more thing on the Wii U?
Go ahead.
Okay, when I first saw that they had the 4 USB ports on the front of the console, the first thing that my brain went to, especially since they said that we were only going to have one Wii U remote, was the fact that we might be able to plug our 3DSs into the console using the mini USB on the top of the 3DS and use those as controllers, and then they'll be able to stream anything that would be streamed to the Wii U remote via cable quicker, and you're not going to be using the bandwidth.
The screen size, though, is a big difference.
But it's still that you're still going to be able to get that experience. So if you're playing Madden with 3 people, you're still going to be able to pick your plays.
You're missing a second analog stick and 2 triggers.
Oh, get cataracts quicker. There you go. It's a...
Just one quick thing before we move on. Did anyone else notice that the second analog stick is in the wrong place? It's above the face buttons. Think about any controller. That's not where you put the damn stick.
It's all in beta. It's all in, I'm sure they have a panel that'll work on it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is their initial announcement. I think they have a long way to go tweaking this system before they finally say, hey, we're ready to go.
I'm hoping it has recesses and it's not flat like it is now. Easier to hold, hopefully.
But yes, in addition to the Wii U, there was a lot of talk of the 3DS. We mentioned very briefly in the first half that the library of 3DS games is shit. Really,
the launch was
it's Zelda. That's about it.
Yeah,
their launch
remake
lineup was not the greatest we've ever seen.
And right at this point, the 3DS, had its initial launch. There was a lot of excitement. The initial orgasm, and now it's gone limp. So there was a lot of talk in the Nintendo conference of trying to inject some life into the 3DS. Otherwise, it stands to be in trouble. Some of the things they announced.
Luigi's Mansion 2.
Yes.
Yay!
Come on.
Woohoo!
I can't wait.
I think the Resident Evil: The Mercenaries looks to be promising, considering it surprised me just how well that little mini game at the end of Resident Evils 3, 4, and 5 took off, exploded popularity. So much so that there's going to be now an actual game. Basically, the way that the Mercenaries is, you have a time limit to kill as many zombies and rack up as many points as you can before Calamity happens.
Yeah, can you tell how closely I follow Resident Evil at all?
Well, that's in Resident Evil 3. Resident Evil 4 and 5. You have a certain amount of time. At the end of the time limit, you get picked up by a chopper, and you are graded by how well you did. And it's basically just an excuse to blow up shit, and it's so popular that it's meriting its own game.
And then there's another Resident Evil game called Revelations, whatever that is.
Revelations is an original title. This may be the title that gets me the 3DS. Because I hate exclusive. I hate exclusive. Capcom does this deliberately to piss me off. We're going to only release it for the one console you don't have.
Revelations looks really good, though.
It takes place in between Resident Evil 4 and 5, and it's a Chris and Jill game detailing their exploits post Raccoon City, and leads into Resident Evil 5.
Zombies are back.
Well, yes.
Yes, it's a Resident Evil game.
No, I mean like actual zombies.
Yeah, not like zombies with actual intelligence. I mean like...
Not rapey zombies.
Like T-virus zombies.
Oh, yay.
Which, thank you.
A lot of classics are coming to the 3DS, like Mario Kart, Star Fox.
Super Mario, the new Super Mario 3DS.
Yep, Kid Icarus.
Oh, that's gonna be great. Can't wait for that.
A 3D classic Excite Bike was announced as a free download in the 3DS store.
Got it in my little 3DS right here. Pretty nice.
It's all right.
Okay. But I mean, you think that you think these classic titles are going to give the 3DS a shot in the arm?
Hang on. You haven't finished the list. You've also got Mario and Sonic, the Olympics, Ace Combat, Cave Story, Driver, Pac-Man, Tekken, Metal Gear Solid.
I was going to get to those.
Don't forget Street Fighter X Tekken.
I mean, you were complaining that there were no games. I'd say it's not even like, oh well, we've got some Nintendo games.
That's a decent lineup.
That is actually a strong lineup of support.
Yeah, most of them look like ports.
Some are ports and some are, exclusive titles. As I was saying earlier, that's what's going to sell the 3DS is if these exclusive titles come out just for the 3DS and they play good.
And of course there's going to be a new Tetris game because that's required by law.
Yeah, but it looked terrible.
Really?
Yeah, if you saw the screens at their press conference, it looked like super cartoony and not very fun.
How can they really ruin Tetris?
I don't know. That's why I'm afraid.
That's why I stick to the NES version. That's just me.
Game Boy, come on. Game Boy was the ultimate.
Okay, I'll give you credit for the Game Boy.
Tetris DS is the best version of Tetris.
To be honest, I think of the games in the lineup, I think the games that I'm looking forward to the most, Resident Evil Revelations, and the as yet unfully named new Smash Brothers game.
Yes.
The Smash Brothers announcement was bullshit. Come on. He basically walked on and said, we haven't actually started making these games, and I haven't actually told the developer he's going to make these games. But we're going to make a game for both the 3DS and the Wii U, and there'll be some sort of mystical compatibility between them. Right, now that I've announced it, he's going to have to do that.
I'm just hoping Mega Man this time around.
I bet you he got a shitty phone call not long after. You announced what?
You announced we're doing what? With what? And we have to have it by when? What the fuck did you just do to us?
That is going to be years before that comes out. Do you remember how long Brawl took to develop?
5 years.
Don't get me started on that.
By the way, Did it wasn't really shown in the press conference, but does anyone else think the new Kirby game for the Wii looks awesome?
Oh,
No.
I cannot wait, can't wait.
He's pinkly
As
orgasming
his
everywhere.
pants are slightly soiled now.
Pinkly. He's pinked.
All I have to say is I'm Meta Knight.
He is pink cream puffed himself.
Oh, ha ha ha.
I just hope that for Luigi's Mansion 2, Luigi gets something other than a vacuum. Like an actual proton pack would be nice. But
Mario.
Mario.
oh god, I hope he's I hope Mario is lying dead in a gutter somewhere in this game. And
No. No, knowing Nintendo's sixth sense of humor, they'll probably have Daisy kidnapped somewhere.
yeah.
But speaking of Mario 3DS looks awesome.
Yes.
I don't care what anybody says.
It does.
Except for the Tanuki suit, which doesn't fly.
Well, the Tanuki suit, and it's not the actual like Tanuki suit that we know of, because you can't change into a statue, and you also get it from the Leaf, which used to give you the raccoon suit.
Yeah. The Leaf just gave you the tail. At least this time it's the full suit. So it'll be nice. Obviously, they have to make some restrictions because Nintendo doesn't want you flying around, skipping half the level. It's not like it's Return of the P-Wing, but it was just a nice nod to the old school gamers of the past.
And Koopalings are back.
Yes.
But they've been back. They were back in New Mario Wii.
Alrighty, let us now wind this down as we have a few minutes left here.
We have to discuss the most important topic of E3.
Well, here we are. Now we open the floor to final thoughts.
So, transferring. Brilliant or brilliant?
Transferring. This was mentioned at the Konami press conference. The transferring concept, this is only for Konami. It will allow players to transfer their save data between PS3 and PSP. The first game to use this is Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, which will be coming out in the latest video game trend of putting a new coat of paint on old games. Konami's announced a Metal Gear Solid HD collection, which basically gives a fresh coat of paint.
And Microsoft users are finally a chance to play it.
Yes.
Yeah. If you haven't watched the Mega 64 video for transferring, you should turn this podcast off now.
Oh, yeah.
It was the best part of E3.
The Mega 64 video, right?
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Not the concept of transferring.
Okay, I was just making sure.
Although I will say I will buy the Metal Gear Solid collection because I am a fool, but also because it goes back to my PS Vita complaint, which is I couldn't play Peace Walker on a PSP because those controls are awful. That stick breaks people's thumbs, and I don't want that experience on a portable device. So I will play it on my big TV. Thank you very much.
All right. Another, let's see, Silent Hill getting a fresh coat of paint with an HD compilation of Silent Hill 2 and 3.
Son
Mass
of
Effect
Enders.
3 being on every console and every phone in the universe.
Yeah.
Zone of the Enders.
Yes.
That's what I'm excited for.
Zone of the Enders HD collection as well.
These games are so good.
I was a little disappointed there was nothing new on Metal Gear Solid Rising.
Yeah, that was odd.
It was. It doesn't surprise me. Kojima loves to keep people in the dark. It's one of his trademarks.
Well, at least we know they're still working on it.
Yes.
And remember, never take anything he says at face value.
Yeah. Really, it's just.
Especially if it's face value.
Talking of games that didn't show up at the conference, Final Fantasy Versus 13. How many years have they been working on that?
That's been a complete miss. Well, now they're on 13 too.
Well, Versus 13 has been completely renamed, is now on the DS, and it should be out early next year.
Sure.
Sure. This is Square we're talking about.
It'll be a mobile phone game for like a Nokia phone.
Yeah, for $30 and
Change.
yeah, at least $30 to download the first 10 hours and $60 for the rest.
Ubisoft, we basically just have to discuss Mr. Caffeine.
Mr. Caffeine.
He sounds like he's on caffeine.
He was awesome. Again, if you haven't seen the video of the Ubisoft press conference, just look it up. He was the worst presenter there's ever been.
Dude, he was awesome. I don't know what you're talking about.
He was not awesome.
It was entertaining. Come on.
It was incredibly French, is all I'm going to say.
There was a new Raving Rabbids game announced from Ubisoft.
Ah!
And he died. That's it.
No, really. What else is there to say for that?
Suddenly, he died of a fatal heart attack.
Yeah, Raving Rabbids, it's nice, but I want a true Rayman sequel. I'm sorry.
Rayman
I have
Origins.
one.
Rayman
Origins,
prequel.
I thought that was a remake of the first.
Now it's prequel, but it's before Rayman, the first one.
All I want
I
is
guess I'll have
another
another
Assassin's
look.
Creed.
And, I didn't see anything else really of interest there. And then, of course, you have EA's press conference.
Where they just showed Battlefield for 12 hours.
Battlefield and Mass Effect. That's about it.
And if they didn't show that, they showed Madden.
Oy.
For all 5 seconds.
Oy.
Here's Madden. Here's Madden. It's the same game all over again. Back to you.
And
Mass
they
Effect
didn't-
looks awesome, though.
It does.
But they didn't even show the good part of Mass Effect. All they showed was some on-rail shooting.
That's probably about the only thing that they had that they actually decided upon is going to be in the game.
I guess.
And everything else is like story spoilers.
We kind of skipped over this earlier, but probably the best-looking game of E3, Bioshock Infinite, looks amazing.
It does.
It did.
Very nice.
I saw that whole trailer, and then I was like, cool, wonder what this game is. Wait, that's a Bioshock game?
Yes, it is.
It looks incredible.
Oh man, I think I nearly wet myself. It was.
It makes me say, all right. I'll go play Bioshock and Bioshock 2 and prepare myself for this.
Awesome.
There's no need
I
to.
have not played 1 and 2 yet. I thought we told you to do that like 5 episodes ago.
Eh.
I
have
played
other
like
games
2
on my
hours of the
They're
first
not.
one.
They're not Nick's sort of games.
Yeah.
There's not Nick Store games, and then there's good games that everyone should play. For example, Chrono Trigger, Bioshock, Mass Effect.
I really didn't get into the original Bioshock.
Ikaruga, Eternal Darkness. See previous episodes.
I played Mass Effect. I played like a few hours of it. And it just was like I'm not captured by it. Eh. But I'll go play Bioshock. I really should. I found a combo pack for like $15 at my video store. I'll go pick it up.
They're awesome games. They are very awesome. I can't wait. GameStop now has, even though Bioshock Infinite is not going to be released for a while, GameStop is now taking pre-orders for it. So
Why are they not? They take pre-orders for everything.
they probably, I wonder what they did with all those pre-orders for Duke Nukem Forever from 14 years ago. Anyway,
They actually accepted them.
Yep.
They did.
they had to.
They honored them.
Anyway,
All right.
so that was E3.
That was
Yeah.
E3, and a very, very interesting E3 at that.
Don't forget Skyward Sword.
We still have a ways to go. And a lot of this stuff, we still have a ways to go. This was just
Fair enough.
pending down the road, but we have definitely enough stuff to keep us occupied and excited for what comes next in gamerdom.
I'm sorry. I can't let the podcast end without saying anything about Zelda HD on the Wii U. Zelda fan here.
All right,
It was a.
Go on.
It's not a real thing. Do you remember
It was a tech
Space World?
demo.
Where
Oh,
they
yeah,
announced
I
the
remember-
really hot-looking Zelda? That never came out.
It was Twilight Princess. It's cool.
Eh.
But no, that tech demo looked awesome, and it made me say that I am definitely buying a Wii U.
Basically, all the Nintendo games in HD will look awesome.
Oh yeah, but as far as Zelda's concerned, we're still working. We're still looking at Skyward Sword, and we all know that's gonna be great. They said what, April 2012. So
they did show some
winter.
new video of
This
it
this
year,
winter.
when they did that music tribute.
Then what did I hear was April 2012? I'll have to look that up.
All right. But there you
I'm
go.
sorry. Had to.
You had. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. So, if you want to give us your thoughts on E3 or on any other downloadable content episodes, you can voice your thoughts over at Downloadable Content's Facebook at facebook.com/downloadablecontent, or you can follow us on Twitter at DLContent. So, for all of us here at this giant E3 panel, Nick, Ron, Josh, and Chris, this is Brian saying have a good one.